We're going to get down to business, though. We're going to talk about the art of the possible. Here's the most important thing I want to get across in this after the course. She rides a Harley-Davidson, her long, long hair flying in the wind. She's been running after life, the chrome and steel she rides, We have assembled a team in Austin, Texas. And for the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with the team and how you can get involved. And the way you're going to interact with the team, it's fine that you DM me and have questions and want to talk about Iran and Neil Young or whatever else you want to talk about. But if you want to be involved with us, you're going to email Ali, like Muhammad Ali, that's actually his name, Ali at myteams.com. Just like it sounds, Ali at myteams.com. Don't ask random questions. If you would like to be a partner, and I'm going to go over this a couple times through the next 10 or 15 minutes. If you'd like to be a partner, in the subject, put partner, and then write, I'd like to be a partner. It's 10 grand. It's an LLC membership, and there's only about 50 or 60 of them left. As the name implies, a partner is someone who gets a distribution, who makes money, but more importantly, for this conversation, participates in the operations. What do you mean? Like you're going to work at the restaurant, so to speak. And you're going to do that with the agents that Agent Hub has created for us. Well, I don't really understand. That's fine. You're not supposed to completely understand. I don't completely understand all the things that we can do with the infrastructure we're building. Some of you are interested in like crypto. Some of you are interested in like cattle, Iran, whatever. But whatever you want to like zero in on, what we really want to do is take these agents and like aim them at your real world, not hyper-scaling AI bullshit. Your real world. Everything is going to become real world because of what's happening in the financial system and the wars and the oil and the fertilizer and everything. So whatever it is that you find interesting. Now I have 2 brands for you. Hold on. Ali at my teams. I just want to make sure it's .com. .co. Woo! Glad I looked. Ali at myteams.co, not .com. Ali at myteams.co. Whenever I put this up, after I do the live, whenever I put it up, that's going to be your thing. But don't just pepper him with bullshit, okay? In the subject, you're going to say, partner. I would like to be a partner. And then we'll have your email. So we already have your email in Substack. But there's like 40 or 50 available slots. And again, I have a guy in Boston who like runs some restaurants. I've been there. He does a great job. He makes his own flour and stuff. Like clearly that guy is going to think about food and like urban real estate and things like that, which is great. So the 2 brands that I'd like to float out there, and I'm happy to have some feedback on DMs, or if you want to call me or email me, that's fine. I think in an urban setting, we should continue to work with Reconstruction as a name. I think that just says, what are you guys doing? We're doing Reconstruction. What do you mean we're doing Reconstruction? And I think I still have my little. And then in the rural settings, do you guys remember this thing? I did this over. We want you to take our agent and go do this to your state. What is that? That is the area codes, and in the white are the opportunity zones. Well, what are you doing with? That's the point, people. Go get the agent and go deploy it on your state. Well, what's in those opportunity zones? Ask the agent, and it'll go run through the internet, and it'll run up to the whatever this little county is here and find the number and the this and all the real estate for sale and how much farmland there is, or if whatever. If there's a big lake in the middle of it, it'll just do that in like 2 minutes. And then you can drill down on opportunity zone 4277, and it'll it'll tell you how many people are there, how many high schools, whatever you want. It'll just keep dragging it out of the internet. It's a finite problem. It's like playing chess. Okay. Ali at myteams.co, not com, co. Okay. So what you're really doing for 10 grand is you're buying our agent and becoming part of our operations. Okay. It just so happens we have like, I haven't looked at the cap table, but we have like 38 people in. We have a certain amount of family and friends. We have about 50 of these available. If I could push a button, I'd say, yeah, we'd want one for each state, but it doesn't have to be for each state. Put partnership in the subject, and I would like to become a partner, and just say, kind regards, Bob Miller or whatever. If that's a little too much for you, in the subject, just put PBC. I'd like to become part of the PBC. And casually, we're going to ask you to maybe have an indication that I could eventually put up this much money or $1,000. You don't even have to do the $1,000. Partnership, PBC. Okay. Ali at myteams.co. Let me see if I can find my Ranger tab real quick. Yeah, there it is. So I based this off a Ranger tab. Isn't that cool? I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty good logo. I haven't made a Leaves of Grass logo yet, but the idea would be this is like a urban, small town kind of a thing, suburban, where you're probably going to move into the world of real estate and things attached to real estate. I've had a couple conversations. It's a little bit of a far-fetched, but it's fun to think like this. Most of you will get interested in this, not by thinking of like tokenization of finance, which is like abstract and goofy and nobody cares. You'll be like, yeah, why is the only place to go buy tampons and food in my little town, in my rural little village town, Dollar General? Like, isn't that sort of screwy? Isn't that sort of weird? Yeah, what would we do about that? I don't know. It's not an easy thing to solve. So this is more of a real estate thing. The other one will be Leaves of Grass, which, as the name implies, is probably headed into regenerative agriculture and things related to it. There's a county almost directly north of me, about 2 hours. Beautiful area. It's where everybody goes to hunt. It's God's country. And like 2/3 of the county is in an opportunity zone. I don't know how much of it's for sale. I'm just giving you another example. Like if somebody said you have to go put $1 million in, I'd go, all right, we're going up there. We're going to cut down some trees. We're going to raise elk. You're going to raise elk. What are you going to do with the elk? Nothing. We're just going to raise elk, and people are going to come hang out with the elk. Really? Why not? It's no taxes for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. How would you execute it? What are the regulations around it? By the way, I've not done any studying about raising elk. I'm just making this up. This is what the agent is for. You just keep feeding into the agent what you want to. Okay, how much would it cost to build 100 yurts for glamping? We charge people $100 to come hang out in the woods and look at the elk and build a fire and eat some trout and things like that. The agent will just flip through that stuff over and over and over and over again. I use it every day. And get on. I'm really glad that he did this. Our guy is on Substack. Okay. Agent Hub is on Substack. I mean, he's as good. The two AI people that I listen to on Substack now all the time are Agent Hub, that's our guy, and Opinion AI. Really good. If you're just hitting those for 2-3 minutes a day, you're keeping up on what's happening in AI. All right, let's shift gears a minute. Clearly, there's a lot to talk about. I've sort of exhausted the Iran stuff with other content, so let's get away from that for a minute. It's not there anymore, but let's see if they moved it. It was the top headline about an hour ago. AI is a direct and immediate threat to the financial system from two directions. This week, the Federal Reserve met with the large banks because the Anthropic agent, known as something or other that I can't remember, I'll look it up here in a second if necessary. There it is. 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 Oh, it's still there. I'm sorry. They put up a new logo for it. My bad. Go to Drudge Report, upper left-hand corner, AI crisis, browsing history, messages, and financial details could be released. The Volpocalypse. What? I don't know what that is. Emergency meeting with the banks could threaten the system. So Anthropic has an agent that is moving faster than the security agents of the large banks. HAL 2000 is here. What's it called? What was the movie with where the AI is going to launch the nuclear weapons or something? This has always been the fear that we have such an integrated digital financial system. It's one of the reasons everything that we've talked about doing here, we've always said is going to have a paper backup to include if you join the LLC by becoming a partner, you'll eventually have some sort of tokenized form of that, but there'll also be a piece of paper with your name on it, which we can go like this. You'll have a copy of it and say, look, I sent you $10,000 and I'm a partner, right? Old school. This is CNBC. Powell Besant discussed Anthropic's Mythos AI cyber threat with major U.S. banks. Besant is the Treasury Secretary, and Powell. Now, I hate to do this to you, but it just went through my mind, so I have to say it. I didn't even think of this before. Trump just tweeted out the world's greatest reset. And for those of us in the financial system, we've always thought we'll probably wake up one day and there'll be some big thing, EMP bomb goes off or the lights go out, or I don't know, an asteroid hits downtown New York, or, some crazy thing. See, whenever I see headlines like this, I always read the headline and then go could this be a conspiracy? Is there something behind the headline? And we'll see. That could very well be, oh my God, Anthropic has infiltrated the whole banking system and we have to reset the whole thing. The Great Reset. Either way, it doesn't matter, does it? It's like that scene of Departed when you're staring down a loaded gun. What's the difference? In other words, if the banking system's going to go down, did they do it on purpose or did they do it by accident? It's all the same. Okay, we're not just creating content to terrorize you, but this is the Great Reset. There's a reason the World Economic Forum has had a thing in Davos every year for 15 years and used the word Great Reset over and over and over and over again. We're in it. President of the United States just tweeted it out last night. Okay, so there's that. Don't panic that your bank account's going to lock up and you're going to lose all your money in your checking account. That everybody always wants to go there, and I don't think that that's really what you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about what would happen if, I don't know, the stock market was closed for a week like it was in 9/11. They could they could default. They could do some sort of, we have now transferred $10 trillion of US debt through stablecoins onto the banking system to shore up the banking system with assets called stablecoins. All those things, I think, are what's going on here, not 1929. But here's the one that is a little bit scarier. They also had a meeting. It was the Federal Reserve also met with the big banks. Both of these things are AI related, concerning the debt related to AI and software. And I've spent a lot of time on here talking about this. First of all, most of us don't even identify debt with the NASDAQ or with techs. Why do tech stocks have debt? Why do companies like Microsoft I think Microsoft makes like what, $1 billion a month or something like that, like in the checking account, just boom, billion every month, just sitting in the checking account waiting to do something. Why do they have debt? Well, the hyperscaler AI activity that came as part of the Trump inauguration and the formation of OpenAI, ChatGPT, et cetera, demanded so much capital that they didn't want to go issue stock, right? Microsoft never wants to get up one day and issue 10% more stock because it dilutes everybody and the stock will drop dramatically. So they very rarely do that unless there's a problem, unless they're in trouble. I think like Wells Fargo did that back in 2009. And the stock went down 80%, and they issued the stock, and then went down another 80%, and then it started over. It's like a refinancing. So what's with all these tech companies? Like there's like $250 billion off the balance sheet of like Facebook. There's a similar number off the balance sheet with all these relationships, all this restructuring of OpenAI with Microsoft. Hold on, gets worse. Then there's this thing called private credit, which is just banking without a bank. It's like private equity banking. Okay. Mainstream wealth management firms like UBS is the biggest wealth management firm in the world, estimates that the losses, not the redemptions, not the stock moving, the losses are going to be 15% of all of private credit. It's like a couple $1 trillion. Hold on. The insurance industry, which is regulated by the states, not by the federal government, has a third of their capital in this kind of credit. Banks are very highly levered, which means like for every dollar in deposits, they have like $30 of assets or something like that. Insurance companies, not so much, because if there's a hurricane or a pandemic and they have to unload a couple $1 billion, they have to be able to go into their portfolio and sell and just hand the money off immediately because Mrs. Kowalski's husband died or the hailstorm hit Indianapolis and 8,000 homes need a new roof. You see where I'm going with this? They have to be able to just go get that money, whether it's even if it's real estate, they have to be able to liquidate that, or they call on reinsurance. Warren Buffett's a big insurance guy. But they have to be able to come up with this capital to deliver against their insurance policies. It's a big number. We could be looking at a government bailout. And what I would tell you is these two things, the anthropic AI and this private credit problem, are related to the Iran war. Just because the liquidity that the Gulf states provided is gone. The billions and billions that get processed through the Gulf, through the oil and gas, go into the checking accounts in Dubai, and then end up in New York City. And that's all in flames right now. This is not doom and gloom. This is just what this is, people. It's the Great Reset. It's the war. It's AI. It's all the same thing. So, general theme here at Bruno has been you're going to wake up one day. If you followed me for a while, you're sick of hearing this. And it's going to be like Gone with the end of Gone with the Wind. But increasingly in the investment community, you are hearing arguments for either real assets, hard assets, and the crypto community, for whatever reason, likes to use the phrase real world assets. And that's why you should think about sending an email to Ali at myteams.co and saying, I'd like to be a partner. Yeah. Should go pick up my dad. He's taking the Polaris Ranger to be worked on. Our hired hand flipped it. We were all 16 once, it's a lot of testosterone, not a lot of frontal lobe. You know what I mean? It's like the lobe to genital ratio is off when you're 16. Anyways, it's $4.4 trillion in private equity. I think that industry is going to go off a cliff. I think the venture capital industry is going to go off a cliff because of the overinvestment in AI that has no foreseeable return. We're using AI for like the best thing you could use it for, which is just aim it at a goal, at a finite goal. Like how many bushels of barley does a 800-pound heifer in Minnesota eat? And it'll just sit and play with you. And what about this? And then you go reference the article that it just like academia, right? You go back and look at its references and say, well, University of Minnesota said that maybe corn's cheaper under these oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then it just goes and calculates that for you. They're a lot of fun. Partnership, PBC, no conspiracy theories, no white papers. I want to talk to Jim and hear his thoughts on Lucifer's influence in the Epstein world. None of that shit. Partner, 10 grand, some smaller amount of money, probably 1,000, indication of interest for the PBC. We're just trying to get some interested parties with good intentions. I just explained to you why banking, insurance, private equity, venture capital might be under a lot of stress. Well, what else is there? Exactly. So let me give you this diatribe. Do you understand that only 3% of the population can really invest in things like private equity, real estate, venture capital, etc.? You're all relegated to the world of mutual funds for the most part, and things like mutual funds like ETFs, etc. You're only allowed to buy things that are publicly traded. Why? Okay, the good argument for that was at the end of the Depression, I love to tell this story, they hired Joe Kennedy. Go figure, the joke was you get a thief to catch a thief. Go figure out what the fuck happened here that caused the Depression. It wasn't just the stock market decline, it was the loss of banking. They didn't have like really private equity at the time. They had something called private banking, or sometimes called merchant banking. So like the Mellons that live over the hill and JP Morgan, their banks were like sort of like mutual funds, private equity, venture capital, corporate lending, stock issuance, all under one house with no regulation. They can just do whatever they want. So when that blew up, and when I say it blew up, like it stopped functioning. Banking stopped functioning. Equity stopped functioning. The government like sort of functioned with the New Deal, but there was no new money to do anything with the economy. I always like to think of it like this, like, because when I was a kid, I could drive to Pittsburgh and the steel mills were still there. And there was just miles of these Star Wars, like bizarre infrastructure things that were like rusty and smoky and crazy looking. There's about 5% of it left. But the steel mills are still there, but there was no orders for steel because nobody had any capital. We might be headed into something that's a little bit like that. Okay. Sorry, to finish the story. So Joe Kennedy came in and said, okay, rich people can go do private equity and things like private equity. Everything else has to be public. Follow me? That's becoming gray month after month after month, partly because of new regulation and partly because of blockchain, tokenization, and the word crypto is going to go away. But commonly you think of it as crypto. Crypto are just these like pretty much speculative bullshit things that lived on the blockchain. There's only about 24 of them left. And things like Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Sui, continue to like build that out. I think the biggest one is Ethereum. They're new systems for finance. And then if you add on top of that the agent, what I just described, again, Ali at myteams.co. In the subject, you will put partner or you will put PBC, which stands for Public Benefit Corporation, a big corporation with lots and lots and lots and lots of shareholders. I would like to be a partner. I would like to be part of the PBC. That's it. We're just trying to get the email list. We're just trying to get indications of interest. Okay. We won't use his name quite yet because we haven't signed an engagement letter, but we have a really good, I think, very appropriate attorney to quarterback this whole thing legally. All right. So now let's just think of this for a minute. Linda. The stock market is 50 or 60 trillion dollars. It's sideways to down through the war so far. Private equity losses, specifically in private credit or debt, estimates are 10 to 15% losses. Those are significant losses. In other words, rich people, accredited investors, remember, like the public are over here and the private are over here. Well, the rich people over here and the private stuff are talking amongst themselves that their $100 million, they have $100 million net worth and they have half of it in private equity and 15% of that is going to go tits up. So they're all talking to themselves like, well, what about my private equity? Right? So it becomes a contagion. It becomes like a bank run. That's why the Federal Reserve just met about it on Friday. So, America loves to create these over the rainbow fantasies of trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and mining asteroids and that kind of thing. That's sort of our personality as Americans, right? I don't know, pick your favorite athlete or entertainer. Like Madonna leaves Detroit and goes to New York City and gets in the cab and says, take me to the center of everything, and goes to Times Square. And now she's Madonna and she's worth $250 million. I mean, it's a great story, right? We love this. We love those things. The problem is whenever that gets baked into the financial system in sort of a silly way, it gums up the financial system. And then when people hear that the Fed is meeting with these people get really spooked. And in the middle of a war, if Trump stands up and says we have to bail out the private equity people, It may be worse than the war. Oh, you mean all these people, all these like people on the edge of the Epstein world need a couple $1 trillion. Why don't you go fuck yourself? Is what's going to happen this time. There's not going to be no 2008, 2009 thing. Mm-mm. No, because I'm going to come on here. I'm going to talk about Leon Black, the guy who ran the biggest, very favorable to Trump private equity firm, which is part of. Why am I glitching out? Sorry, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. Leon Black raped a 7-year-old. So he still walks the streets and nobody does anything. Nobody tries to arrest him or prosecute him or do anything. But let's all calm down. If they try to throw a cup now, the other thing they're going to do is they're going to tokenize all this private equity and they're going to put it in your 401k. They may not even tell you. They might just pump it into the index funds. Like you're painting like a really spooky picture of all this. Yeah, that's what happens when you lose a war. When you lose a war for 25 years that you've spent $1 trillion per year, you've pissed away $25 trillion since 9/11. You have nothing to show for it. The big oil companies control the oil and gas. There's tankers coming right now to get the oil. What do you think is going to happen to the fucking price of oil and gas in the United States as the big corporate? And they say, we're going to come buy the oil from us. It's not us, the American people. Specifically, conservative white men somehow identify with Chevron loading the liquid natural gas onto a ship and sending it to France is somehow our gas. We don't get anything out of it. A lot of the gas comes from right here. It's from the Marcellus. It's not like they're going to send my dad a check because they sent the fucking gas to France. And this is what Americans are just slowly waking up to. Like, look, the economy doesn't even really like include us. No, it mainly includes you whenever you go to buy breakfast. And it's no longer $13 for Eggs Benedict, it's $23. So they're going to sell all the oil and gas, from the Permian, from the Eagle Ford, from the Bakken, from the Marcellus, from the Utica. That's all going to go overseas. But it's not like it's going to pay our bills. We're as dumb as the fucking people in Bahrain that have a dictator running our country who gets all the wealth. But we had 40 years of Reagan, Milton Friedman, Bill Clinton, to some degree Jeffrey Sachs, like everybody in the system believes that the system is working. The system's not working. No, it's in the Financial Times. In 2014, they wrote that the Rothschilds are coming here to work with the Rockefellers because of the fracking. It's not hard. Ali at myteams.co. ALI at myteams.co. Partner. I'd like to be a partner. It's 10 grand. PBC. I'd like to be a member of the Public Benefit Corporation. That's it. All right, so let's go back to the two brands. Excuse me, I'm getting hot. Let's go back to the two brands. Because I think whenever people hear all this and you're not in finance where you like live it all the time, it's like talking to your doctor about, how some pharmaceutical works and he just says a bunch of shit that you don't understand. But everybody knows that groceries are expensive and everybody knows that housing's expensive. Well, there's this new thing called supply and demand. The only way to deal with those two things is to recreate this situation of supply and demand. Either the demand will go down, which means our kids won't buy a house or they'll live in our basement, or like with the price of beef, beef won't be a staple like it used to be, or the supply goes up. And the supply of housing, or let's just do cattle, requires capital to do that. Where's the capital going to come from? Well, I just explained that private equity, for example, is under extreme stress. The banking system is under extreme stress. This is whenever I say Ali at myteams.co again, because if at some point here you're going to go, oh, I see what he's doing. It isn't just about cows and houses. He's like saying that there's like a new like way for like money to move around and cap. Yeah, there you go. Now you're good. That's what crypto is, people. It's not coins. It's new ledgers and new structures and new funds. They don't even exist yet. They don't even exist yet. I've been talking about the exact same thing for 5 years. I said, one day you're going to wake up and the whole financial system is going to be different, because we're not just going to jack up the price of Tesla anymore. That, right? I mean, when I started this, I would do things and I would like beat up on Tesla a little bit. And people would get so pissed. It's the greatest entrepreneur ever. Tesla's not a car company. It's going to be worth 20 trillion, just on and on like that. I was like, all right, dude, like it's sort of like Subaru. And people hated it. The reason people aren't really investing different is because there's no way to invest different right now. It's too. I was just talking to somebody for an hour and a half this morning. It's very, very knowledgeable in cattle. And here's what he said to me. Why don't like wealthy people like go buy ranches in Nebraska and Wyoming? And I said, well, they don't know how to operate it. First of all, the whole concept. Think about this for a minute. You're sitting in Stamford, Connecticut, and you're worth $250 million, and you have 6 people in your family office, and some asshole like me comes in and says, we're trying to raise $100 million to buy cattle and related assets. And they all go, what do you mean? Well, there's going to be a big shift to hard assets. Now think about what is in Stamford, Connecticut. Nothing. There's nothing in Stamford, Connecticut other than family offices and wealthy people who have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of financial assets. So the first thing you've just done is you've almost embarrassed yourself and almost implied that Wyoming is going to become wealthier than Stamford, Connecticut. See what I'm getting at here? What are you're going to buy like $10 million worth of cattle? Yeah. Yeah, we think the price of cattle is going to follow the price of gold to $10,000 and $20,000. Like right now, the price of a cow is the same as the price of gold. And the guy's sitting there as you're doing this, and all his financial people, they're like CFAs and MBAs, and they know like beta and gamma. I have no idea what gamma is. I know what alpha and beta is, but like they have all these ratios and shit, and like all this trading for 40 years and blah, 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 blah. And all this money was going to come out for the AI. It was going to make everything go up forever. And you just come in and it's like you just threw a cup of coffee at them. Cows? The fuck would I invest in cows for? It's the same thing with gold. If you tell people that are like worth $100 million in the stock market that they should buy gold, half of them get pissed off at you. Warren Buffett jokes about it. Gold is, you dig it out of the ground and you put it in another hole in the ground, right? Stock market's up 5x since 9/11. Gold's up 22x. Stock market isn't even close to keeping up with the price of gold right now. And then we have the weird thing, the price of gold went down through the war in Iran. Amazing. Amazing. Missiles are flying into Bahrain and Kuwait. Fucking oil tankers are blowing up. Price of gold goes down dramatically. It's amazing how that works. There could be people just raising capital any place they can get it. But, for those of us who love conspiracies, then you have the operational problem. Americans generally don't like to hear that they have to do real shit again. What do you mean real shit? We may have to run our own healthcare, like, locally. Our cities, a lot of our downtown, big, great American cities are effectively bankrupt. The homeless problem, fentanyl, all these things. And we all think that there's something in Washington, D.C. going to make these things go. But they don't care. There's more Muslims to kill. We need more trillions for more Muslims. There's no money for that. See where I'm going with this? Americans don't really like to hear that, oh shit, we maybe have misallocated resources on the most incredible scale in human history. But the infrastructure, Ali at myteams.co. Partner, 10 grand. PBC. I'd like to be a member of the PBC. Ali at myteams.co. We're not going to bombard you with solicitations and bullshit. This is just I get it. I've been listening to you for a long time. When the missiles hit Iran, I sort of get the joke now that there's something new that has to happen. That's probably the best thesis you could take away from all this. It's all going to be about hard assets, people. It's going to be about everything is going to be more expensive to move around. Everything is going to be more expensive to dig out of the ground, to process. Rough estimates are that global GDP is going to drop by 8%. We're in a good position here in America because we have so much food and energy. And for the most part, a pretty enterprising, flexible workforce, right? But again, the pendulum is going to go away from financial assets. When you have the Federal Reserve meeting because of the potential for an AI massive hack, and the 15% of private equity is going to lock up, yeah, there's some problems there. They're financial problems, right? A cow grazing in the sandhills in Nebraska doesn't care about AI. Nope, they do. I mean, you can use AI to manage them, and genetics and logistics and budgeting and so forth. But as of April 11th, 2026, AI is economically a disaster. That could change, but right now it is a disaster unfolding before us. Trillions committed, the trillions dried up, and there's no sign of trillions in the revenue. That could change, but it's 100 to 1 in the wrong direction. Ali at myteams.co. Again, if you want to look at content, it's all there's all kinds of content on Substack. There's all kinds of content once you subscribe. There's 50 TikTok videos that was the lead up to this, where I was like, someday you're going to wake up and the war is going to be over. That's what's happening in Pakistan right now. They're negotiating the end of the war on terror, people. They're negotiating the who gets what. Was it all pre-planned? Who knows? Is it just Trump and the Epstein files? Who knows? Who cares? We're at the end of the war on terror. Everything is different. We went from $3 trillion in debt to $40 trillion in debt. Gold went from 270 to 5,000. At the end of the war, do things get better for the United States or worse? So Ali at myteams.co. Okay, let me finish with the Reconstruction Leaves of Grass thing. And these things clearly overlap, right? There's lots of opportunity zones in rural areas. There's lots of opportunity zones, and there might be like ag things that would be better off processing and growing tomatoes or something in the middle of a city that would be better in the middle of Iowa. But I think most of us have sort of like a rural worldview, more of a rural worldview than an urban worldview. But there's also lots of opportunity zones in sort of worn out suburbia. So take a look at that. I think this is the new finance. I think this is the great reset. I think this is what blockchain is really for. And I'm trying to give you some opportunities to get involved in it directly, not just buy this crypto or we're going to do a coin offering or what have you. This is for you to go out and do something. We don't just have to doom scroll and watch shit blow up day after day and do nothing. Ali at myteams.co. Yeah, reach out to us. These are good people we're putting together. And it feels like really the operations are going to exist in Austin, Texas. The tech is there. The enterprising worldview is there. The weirdness of Texas, the Republic of Texas thing. I did a thing last night. I think everything's going to fall back on the states. Doesn't matter if they're blue or red. Everything's going to fall back on the states. The economy is going to fall back onto real world assets. The economy is going to fall back to more of a local thing. The money ain't coming out of the Gulf anymore. So have a nice weekend. Tomorrow we're going to do noon. We're going to do the Luciferians versus the traditional societies. Have a nice weekend.